So today we're going to be replacing a broken, smashed screen on a iPhone 5S, and there are a couple of little differences over the iPhone 5S to the iPhone 5, and the main one being the fingerprint sensor that's built into the home button. You've got an extra ribbon cable that goes from the home button and attaches to the motherboard on the base, so we can't just go lifting the actual LCD screen off in one go, so you have to be really careful when lifting this off. Now to start, it's just release the two torque screws at the base here, and these should not be in too tightly if it's never been taken apart before. So normally when you buy these kits off Amazon or eBay, you get some of these little pry tools and these guitar picks, but what I'm going to use to actually get it started, I'm going to use the little suction cup that you get, and sometimes depending on how badly cracked the actual screen is will depend on how good a suction you can actually get on that. But I like to start off by using a sharp blade. This is a craft blade which has been broken off, and I just use that edge to get in there in between the screen and the side of the chassis, just enough to get it actually up, enough to get one of these plastic pry tools underneath. It's not a good idea to do it all with this because you might end up cutting something or damaging something on the inside of the iPhone itself. So there you can see we've got it away slightly, and it should be enough there to get in with a plastic pry tool, so we can work that along and pop that screen out. So now you can see the ribbon cable that attaches to the motherboard from the home button. So what we've got to do is get in there, and there's a little metal shield that goes over the top of that, and it pops off, and then we can actually pop this ribbon cable away from the motherboard. So hold the screen open with your thumb like this as far as it'll go, and now what I'm going to do is pop off the little metal cover. And then use a plastic pry tool to tease that out of the way. And then use your pry tool again, get underneath the actual ribbon cable and pop that out as well. So now we've got to remove the 4 phillips screws that holds this shield in place, so we can get in there and detach the ribbon cables for the LCD. And these screws do vary in different lengths, so it's a good idea to remember where they go. And using our plastic pry tool, we'll just pop up the connectors to these ribbon cables. So that's our LCD removed. So now what we've got to do is remove some of the parts off this LCD in order to transplant them onto our new one. So first of all, we're going to remove the home button and the fingerprint sensor. And it's a good idea to work side by side like this, and then you know exactly where your parts are going to go and your screws are going to go in where, because it's easy to mix them up. So to actually remove the rest of the home button, it's held in place by this rubber gasket here, which has a little bit of stickiness to it as well. So I find it a lot easier if you hold it and push up with one of your fingers and use a sharp blade. Just get in there under the corners, being really careful not to cut that gasket or cut any of the ribbon cables, otherwise you'll have to buy yourself a new home button. The same with these ribbon cables as well, they've got a little bit of double-sided tape under them. So next we're going to remove the speaker and the front-facing camera and the light sensor. But before we start unscrewing the screws, we've got this little bit of tape here that we need to peel back and remove, because we're going to transplant that onto our new LCD. So again, using a sharp knife and trying to get in on one of the corners so we can peel it away. And again, this is another one of those things where you might be tempted to cut that away and not put it onto your new screen. And at the end of the day, that is actually copper tape, and it's used for shielding. So if Apple didn't think they needed it there, trust me, they wouldn't have put it there, because it just costs extra money. So we do need to tuck that back onto our new screen so we do a good job. So remove the Phillips screws, and again place them so you know in which order they go back in. There is like a little clip that goes in just under here. It's like a little hook, so we have got to get that out first, and once you get that out, it should just come away. So there you can see the little hook. So we've got the camera out of its housing there, but here it's held on by some more double-sided tape, so you've got to try and get in with a sharp knife again and gently peel that away. So again, it's just about taking your time and being gentle. That's the camera. So the replacement LCD that I've got for this phone doesn't come with this backing plate here. Some do, but we've got to remove this, and it's just held in by some Phillips screws around the sides. So first thing we've got to do is remove this plastic protector off the new LCD. And put the shield in place first. So once that shield's in place, I'll activate the home button next. And there should be enough stickiness left on this so you can place it back down. And don't over tighten the screws on the bracket. Just want them enough just to hold that bracket in place. If you over tighten them, your home button won't work. So fold this back over. That's our home button done. So we put the camera back into place, and then the little contacts for the speaker. Should line up with these two pins. I can go back to this tape and actually line that up properly. So now we're going to hold all that in place again with the bracket, but this time there's also a hook just here, and you've got to make sure that that is hooked down under the case here, otherwise it won't be flush. So we're now getting ready to connect the LCD back to the motherboard, and you want to make sure your cables are lying just like mine are, so when you fold them over they're actually all nice and flush and they naturally lay in the same position as the connectors are laid out on the motherboard. So it's just a matter of connecting them back up, and when they're actually connected up properly there's a little click, so use your plastic pry tool to help you guide them in. And once you've got them connected up, just gently lay your LCD back down, and it's always a good idea to turn it on just to give it a quick test before you actually finish connecting everything up. So everything's fine, touch is working, so what we'll do, power it off and then finish putting it back together again. So we can put the shield back in place and the 4 Phillips head screws. So probably the most fiddliest piece of this to actually put back together is the actual home button ribbon cable for the fingerprint sensor, but when you get it right it does naturally want to lay in the correct position, so just use a plastic spudger to guide it in. A little bit of patience. Don't force it. And you will get it in there. So I've managed to get that connector in there, and one of the biggest problems with this connector is, unlike the LCD ones, you don't tend to get that click, but we're now going to put the little metal shield back in place. The easiest way I've found to do this is to get a screwdriver, magnetise it slightly on a speaker magnet, and then gently guide it in place. It is fiddly, but if Apple didn't want it in there, trust me, they would not have put it there. Just magnetise the screwdriver a bit more. So the trick is to lay it where you want it and then use your plastic spudger to click it into place. It's now ready to put the screen back in the housing, and start from the top. Once you've got the top in, you can work your way down the sides. Shouldn't have to put too much force on it, but it is a tight fit. So hopefully you found that useful and you have a go at fixing your own iPhone if you accidentally drop it and smash the screen. And if you did find it useful, then as always please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.